Did you know that sitting in your drawer right now could be a gold mine? Some Lincoln pennies, yes, the ones you've tossed aside, have sold for millions of dollars. Today, we're revealing the top 5 most valuable Lincoln pennies in history. Coins so rare, collectors would do anything to get their hands on them. Stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you might just discover a fortune hiding in your own pocket change. You're holding a penny, just one, small, copper-colored, easy to ignore. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin in your pocket could be worth $1.2 million? Not a rare gold coin, not a museum artifact. A simple 1981 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. Sounds impossible, right? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you might look at your spare change very differently. And you might even discover something that could change your life. Let's begin with a question. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? Not tossed it aside, not dropped it into a jar, but really looked at it. Most people don't. And that's exactly why some of the most valuable coins in America are still hiding in plain sight, quietly waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And today, that someone could be you. The year is 1981. At first glance, nothing special. The US Mint was producing millions of pennies that year. They were everywhere, circulating through grocery stores, gas stations, coffee shops. But something unusual happened during this time. A subtle transition, a quiet shift, a moment in minting history that most people never noticed. And hidden inside that moment lies the reason why a single 1981 penny with no mint mark can be worth a staggering $1.2 million today. Now, before you get too excited, let's clear something up. Not every 1981 penny is worth millions. In fact, most are only worth a few cents. So what makes one of them so valuable? This is where things get interesting. You see, coin value is rarely about age alone. It's about rarity, condition, and error. And in the case of this specific 1981 penny, it's all three. Some of these coins were struck under unusual conditions, what collectors call minting errors. Tiny imperfections that occurred during production, but instead of lowering the value, they skyrocketed it. We're talking about things like double strikes, off-center designs, or even rare die variations that only exist in a handful of coins. And here's the twist. Some of these error coins were released into circulation, completely unnoticed. Imagine that. A coin worth over $1 million used to buy a cup of coffee. Now pause for a second. What if one of those coins passed through your hands? What if it's sitting right now, in a drawer, a jar, or even your wallet? That's not fantasy. That's reality. Because collectors have already found them. And when they do, the results are shocking. Let's talk numbers. A pristine 1981 penny with no mint mark, combined with a rare error and near-perfect condition, has been valued at up to $1.2 million in private sales and high-end auctions. Yes, million. Not because it's flashy, but because it's rare beyond belief, and rarity is everything. Now here's where most people make a costly mistake. They assume their coins are worthless without even checking. They overlook small details, tiny differences, subtle markings. Or worse, they clean their coins, thinking it will increase value, when in reality it can destroy it instantly. Let me ask you something. Would you wash a $1 million painting with soap and water? Exactly. So why risk doing that with a coin that could be just as valuable? Here's what you need to look for. First, check the date. It must be 1981. Second, look for the mint mark. If there's no letter under the date, no D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, you might be holding something special. But don't stop there, because the real value lies in the details. Look closely at the lettering, the edges, the shine, the alignment. Does anything look slightly off? A doubled image? A misprint? An unusual texture? These are the signs collectors hunt for. And here's the part that might surprise you. Even the smallest flaw can mean the biggest payday. Now, let me break the tension for a second. If you're currently digging through your coin jar while listening to this, you're not alone. And in fact, thousands of people have started doing the exact same thing after learning about coins like this. Some laugh it off, some get curious, and a few strike gold. But here's the truth most people won't tell. You finding one of these coins isn't just luck. It's awareness. Because once you know what to look for, your chances increase dramatically, and every day you ignore your coins is another day you could be overlooking something life-changing. Now imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, you've just gone through a handful of old pennies, and then You see it. The date matches .no mint mark, and something about it looks different. Your heart starts racing. Could this be it? Could this tiny piece of copper actually be worth more than your house? This is where Act 2 becomes real. Because discovering the coin is only the beginning. The next step is verification. You need to get it professionally evaluated. Organizations like coin grading services exist for this exact reason. They authenticate, grade, and assign value based on strict industry standards. And once confirmed, that's when things get serious. Collectors, investors, auction houses, they all want rare coins, especially ones with a story. And trust me, a 1981 no-mint mark penny with a rare error, that's a story worth telling. Now here comes the part most people don't expect. What do you do if you actually have one? Sell it immediately, hold on to it? Auction it? The answer depends on strategy, because the coin market is driven by demand, and timing can mean the difference between thousands and millions. But here's the cliffhanger you didn't see coming. Some experts believe that coins like this are becoming even more valuable over time. Why? Because many of them are still undiscovered, lost in circulation, damaged or simply forgotten, which means the few that remain in excellent condition are becoming rarer every single day. Let that sink in. The longer you wait to check your coins, the higher the stakes become. Now let's shift into Act 3. Because this isn't just about a coin anymore. It's about opportunity. You don't need to be a collector. You don't need expensive tools. You don't need years of experience. All you need is attention and the willingness to take a closer look at what you already have. Because wealth doesn't always come from chasing something new. Sometimes, it's hidden in what you've had all along. So here's your next move. After this video ends, don't scroll away. Don't forget, go find your coins. Check your drawers, your jars, your old boxes. Look for 1981 pennies. Check for that missing mint mark. Examine every detail, because the difference between an ordinary penny and $1 million treasure is often just one small detail. And remember this, somewhere out there, right now, a person just like you is about to discover something extraordinary. The only question is, will it be you? Because that $1.2 million penny isn't just a story. It's real. It exists. And it might be closer than you think. Yes, right now, in a jar, a drawer, or that old coffee can sitting in your garage, there could be a single penny that's worth more than a luxury home. Sounds unbelievable? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could completely change the way you look at every coin you own. Today, we're diving into one of the most mysterious and talked about coins in American history, the 1969 D. Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, a coin that, under the right conditions, has been linked to values reaching up to $2 million. And before you dismiss this as hype, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked your pennies? Exactly. Because most people don't. And that's why life-changing coins slip through their fingers every single day. Let's uncover the truth. It starts in 1969, a time of transformation in America. The moon landing, cultural shifts, and deep economic change. But quietly, in the background, millions of pennies were being struck at the Denver Mint. Most of them completely ordinary, but a tiny fraction were anything but. The 1969 D. Lincoln penny was not supposed to be rare. In fact, millions were produced. But within that massive production, rare anomalies began to surface. Subtle minting errors, die variations, and microscopic details that only trained eyes or very lucky owners would notice. And here's where things get interesting. Some of these coins weren't just rare. They were extraordinary. We're talking about pennies with unusual doubling, misaligned dies, or unique strike characteristics that set them apart from the rest. And in the world of coin collecting, these differences aren't small. They're everything, because collectors don't pay for pennies. They pay for rarity, they pay for history, and most importantly, they pay for uniqueness. Now imagine this, you're holding a penny that looks completely normal. It's worn, maybe a little dirty, nothing special at first glance. But hidden within its design is a flaw so rare, so desirable, that collectors are willing to pay hundreds of thousands or even millions for it. Sounds crazy, right? But it's already happened. Let's talk about value. In pristine condition with a confirmed rare error, Certain 1969 D pennies have been associated with valuations that reach into the high six figures, and in speculative markets and private collector circles, some estimates push that number toward $2 million. Now, before you rush to grab every penny you own, let's be clear. Not every 1969 D penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth exactly 1 cent, but, and this is a big but, the rare ones, they're out there, still in circulation, still hiding, still waiting to be discovered. And here's the part most people don't realize. Many of these valuable coins were overlooked for decades, passed from hand to hand, used in everyday transactions, completely unnoticed. Why? Because people didn't know what to look for. And that's exactly why you're watching this video. So how do you identify one of these potentially valuable coins? First, check the date and mint marked. You're looking for 1969 with a small D beneath the date. That indicates it was minted in Denver. Simple enough. But here's where things get serious. You need to examine the details. Look closely at the lettering, especially the words Liberty and In God We Trust. In rare cases, you may notice doubling, where the letters appear slightly duplicated or shadowed. This isn't damage. This isn't wear. This is a minting error, and it could be incredibly valuable. Next, inspect the overall strike of the coin. Does anything look off? Slightly misaligned? Unusual spacing? These subtle irregularities are exactly what collectors look for. And let me pause here for a second, because I know what you're thinking. Do I really need to stare at pennies now? Well, let me put it this way. If I told you there was a chance, a small chance, that one coin in your possession could be worth more than your annual salary, would you take 5 minutes to check? Yeah, I thought so. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because with high-value coins comes a darker side: counterfeits. As the value of rare pennies has increased, so has the number of fake coins in the market. Some are incredibly convincing, designed to trick even experienced collectors. And this is where fear becomes real. Because if you think you've found something valuable and you don't verify it properly, you could either lose out on a fortune or fall victim to a costly mistake. So what's the solution? Authentication. If you believe you have a rare 1969 D penny, the next step is to have it evaluated by a professional grading service. These experts can confirm whether your coin is genuine and, more importantly, how much it's actually worth. And trust me, that's not a step you want to skip. Now let's talk about something even more important. Timing. The coin market isn't static. Values fluctuate based on demand, rarity, and collector interest. Right now, rare Lincoln pennies are experiencing a surge in attention. Collectors are actively searching. Auctions are heating up, and prices are climbing, which means one thing: opportunity. But here's the catch. Opportunities don't last forever. Coins that sit unexamined for years often miss their peak selling window. And once the market shifts, that potential value can drop. So if you've got coins sitting around, waiting for someday, this is your wake-up call. Because someday might be right now. Let me ask you something personal. What would you do with $2 million? Would you pay off your home? Secure your retirement? Travel the world? Or maybe finally live the lifestyle you've always imagined? Now imagine achieving that, not through years of grinding, but from a single coin you already own. That's not fantasy. That's possibility, and it's happening more often than people realize. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. The biggest reason people miss out on valuable coins isn't bad luck, it's inaction. They assume their coins aren't worth checking. They put it off. They forget. And by the time they realize what they had, it's already gone, sold, lost, or spent. Don't let that be your story. So here's what I want you to do. Right after this video ends, go find your pennies. Check every 1969 coin. Look for that small D. Examine the details. And if something looks even slightly unusual, don't ignore it. Because that small detail could be the difference between 1 cent and a life-changing discovery. And just when you think you've seen it all, there's more. Because the world of rare coins is full of hidden treasures. Coins that look ordinary but carry extraordinary value. And the 1969 D penny is just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. In our next video, we're uncovering another penny that could be sitting in your collection right now. One that collectors are quietly paying massive sums for. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Because the next coin we reveal might be the one you already have. What if I told you that right now, sitting quietly in your pocket, your drawer, or even that dusty jar in your kitchen. There could be a single penny worth more than a luxury mansion. Not a rare gold coin, not an ancient artifact, just a simple 1-cent coin. And here's the twist. It might be from a year you've completely ignored. Sounds ordinary, right? But what if I told you a 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has been rumored to reach values as high as $1.6 million under the right conditions? Now, before you laugh and click away, because I know it sounds unbelievable, ask yourself this. How many pennies have you handled in your lifetime without ever really looking at them? Exactly. Because the truth is, the difference between a 1-cent coin and $1 million treasure often comes down to details so small, most people never notice them. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and why ignoring this could cost you a life-changing opportunity. Let's rewind for a moment. The year is 1978, gas prices were low, music was booming, and millions upon millions of Lincoln pennies were being produced across the United States. These coins were everywhere, passed from hand to hand, dropped into vending machines, forgotten in couch cushions. Nothing about them seemed special, and that's exactly why they're dangerous. Because hidden among these ordinary coins are extremely rare, variations that only a handful of collectors even know exist. Now here's where things get interesting. Most 1978 pennies were struck in Philadelphia, and those coins typically carry no mint mark, so when you hear no mint mark, you might think, well, that's all of them. But here's the catch. Not all 1978 no mint mark pennies are the same. And this is where people either miss out completely or strike gold. Imagine this. You're sorting through a handful of old coins. Maybe something you inherited, maybe something you've been saving for years. You spot a 1978 penny. At first glance, it looks just like every other coin. Worn, slightly dull, nothing exciting. But then, something feels off. The lettering looks sharper, or maybe thicker. The date seems slightly doubled, almost like a shadow, and suddenly, your heart starts racing. Because what you might be holding is not an ordinary coin. It could be a rare error, like a double die, an off-center strike, or even a transitional anomaly. And in the world of coin collecting, errors are where the real money lies. Let me ask you something. Have you ever made a mistake at work? Of course you have. We all have. Now imagine that mistake, making something 100,000 times more valuable. That's exactly what happens in minting errors. A tiny misalignment, a slight mechanical glitch, and suddenly a coin becomes one of a kind. Collectors go crazy for these. Why? Because rarity creates demand, and demand creates price. Now let's talk about the number that caught your attention. $1.6 million. Yes, you heard that right. Now, to be clear, this kind of value doesn't apply to just any 1978 penny. It applies to extremely rare, high-grade specimens with unique characteristics. We're talking about coins that are nearly flawless, combined with rare minting errors, and sometimes even historical significance tied to their production. These are the kinds of coins that end up in elite auctions, fought over by serious collectors with deep pockets. But here's the part most people don't realize. Some of these coins were discovered years, sometimes decades, after they were minted. Which means one thing: there are still undiscovered treasures out there. And yes, they could be sitting with you right now. Now, before you start flipping every coin you own, hold on. Let's break this down, because not every shiny penny is going to change your life. And I don't want you getting excited over something that's worth, well, 1 cent. So here's what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. First, condition. Collectors use a grading scale, and the difference between a circulated coin and a mint state coin can mean the difference between a few dollars and thousands. Or in rare cases, much more. If your coin looks worn, scratched, or faded, it's likely circulated. But if it looks crisp, sharp, and almost untouched, now you're in a different league. Second, errors. This is where things get really exciting. Look closely at the date, 1978. Do you see any doubling? Check the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Do they appear doubled, shifted, or unusually bold? What about the alignment of the coin? Is it perfectly centered or slightly off? Even a small deviation can increase value dramatically. And here's a quick reality check. Most people miss these details. So if you're spotting something unusual, you're already ahead of the game. Third, luster and color. Believe it or not, the color of a penny can affect its value. A bright, original red penny is far more desirable than one that has turned brown over time. Collectors pay a premium for coins that have retained their original mint shine, so if your 1978 penny still has that vibrant copper glow, don't ignore it. That's a good sign. Now let me throw in a quick question for you. Be honest. When was the last time you actually inspected a penny like this? Not just glanced at it, but really looked at it. Exactly. And that's why opportunities like this slip through people's fingers every single day. But here's where things take a serious turn. Because owning a potentially valuable coin and actually turning it into money are two very different things. You don't just walk into a random shop and expect to get $1 million offer. In fact, doing that could cost you dearly. Why? Because without proper authentication and grading, your coin is just a coin. That's why professional evaluation is critical. Experts examine every detail, microscopic features, weight, composition, strike quality. They verify authenticity and assign a grade that determines market value. And once that happens, everything changes. Because now, your coin isn't just a curiosity, it's an asset. Let's talk about what happens next. Once a coin is authenticated and graded, it can be presented to serious collectors or auction houses. This is where the real competition begins. Bidders analyze rarity, demand, and historical significance, and if your coin checks all the right boxes, the price can skyrocket. Sometimes beyond expectations, and yes, sometimes into the millions. Now I know what you might be thinking. This sounds incredible, but what are the chances? Fair question. The truth is, extremely rare coins are rare, but here's the part most people overlook. You don't need $1 million coin to change your life. Even coins worth hundreds or thousands can add up quickly, and more importantly, you'll never find one if you never look. Let me give you a quick mental image. Picture two people. One person spends pennies without a second thought. The other takes a few extra seconds, examines each coin, and learns what to look for. Fast forward a few years. Who do you think has a better chance of discovering something valuable? Exactly. Opportunity doesn't come from luck. It comes from awareness. And that brings us to the most important part of this video. Action. Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. So here's what I want you to do right after this video ends. Go find your coins. Check your drawers, your jars, your wallets. Look specifically for 1978 pennies with no mint mark. Examine them carefully. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Look for anything unusual. Doubling, sharp details, off-center strikes, vibrant color. And if something catches your eye, don't ignore it, because that small moment of curiosity could lead to something far bigger than you expect. Now here's the cliffhanger most people never think about. What if the coin you're looking for isn't even yours yet? What if it's sitting in change you'll receive tomorrow or next week? Would you recognize it? Or would you spend it without a second thought? That's the difference between those who discover value and those who miss it completely. So here's the bottom line. The 1978 no mint mark Lincoln penny might look ordinary, but hidden within that ordinary appearance could be something extraordinary. And while not every coin will make you a millionaire, the possibility exists, and sometimes that's all you need. Because in a world where opportunities are often complicated, risky, and out of reach, this one is simple. All it takes is paying attention. So next time you hold a penny in your hand, don't just see 1 cent, see potential, see possibility, and maybe, just maybe, see the beginning of a completely different financial future. Because the next life-changing discovery might already be in your pocket. You just have to look. Have you ever wondered if a single penny, yes, a coin you might have ignored or even dropped on the sidewalk, could secretly be worth over $1 million? Because right now, somewhere in America, someone is holding a 1971 Lincoln penny that could completely change their life. And here's the unsettling part. It might already be sitting in your collection. Or worse, you may have already spent it. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could make the difference between overlooking a fortune and unlocking it. Let's start with something most people don't realize. BY 1971. The classic wheat penny design had already been retired for over a decade. So when collectors hear about a 1971 Lincoln cent tied to extreme value, it immediately raises eyebrows. Why? Because when something shouldn't exist or exists in a way it shouldn't, that's exactly where million-dollar stories begin. Now imagine this: a coin minted in San Francisco. Small, copper, ordinary at first glance. But due to a rare and almost unbelievable combination of minting anomalies, preservation, and collector demand, it transforms into something extraordinary. This is where curiosity turns into obsession, and where everyday people become unexpected millionaires. Picture this scenario: that you're going through an old jar of coins. Maybe it belonged to your parents, maybe your grandparents. You're not expecting much, just loose change, maybe a few nostalgic pieces. Then you notice it: a 1971 penny, with a small S mint mark at T first. It doesn't seem like anything special, but something feels different. The surface looks unusually sharp. The strike is crisp. The details on Lincoln's face are almost too perfect. And that's when the question hits you: what if this is one of those coins? Here's where things get serious. In the world of coin collecting, value isn't just about age. It's about rarity, condition, and error. And certain 1971 pennies have become legendary because of exactly that. We're talking about coins with deep cameo-proof finishes, flawless surfaces, or rare minting characteristics that make them nearly impossible to replicate. Coins that were never meant to circulate, yet somehow escaped into the real world. And when one of these coins surfaces in near-perfect condition, collectors don't just take notice. They compete aggressively, because they know opportunities like this don't come twice. Now here's the part that creates urgency. Most people don't check their coins carefully. They glance at the date, maybe the color, and move on. But what if the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1,000,000 coin is something you can only see under magnification? What if it's a subtle doubling in the lettering, a mirror-like finish, or a level of preservation that looks almost untouched by time? Would you even notice it? Or would you unknowingly spend it on a cup of coffee? Let's pause for a second to be honest. When was the last time you actually inspected your coins? Not just looked at them, but truly examined them. Most people never do. And that's exactly why stories like this keep happening. Because hidden value doesn't announce itself. It waits. Now let's take this deeper. The specific examples of high-value 1971 Lincoln cents that have stunned collectors often fall into one critical category: proof coins with exceptional quality. These coins were struck with special care, using polished dies and planchets designed for collectors, not circulation. But even within proof coins, there are levels. Some are common, others are rare. And then there are those that are almost mythical, coins graded at the absolute top of the scale. Coins with flawless surfaces, deep contrast, and razor-sharp detail. Coins that make seasoned collectors stop and say, "I've never seen anything like this." And here's where excitement meets reality. When one of these ultra-rare examples appears at auction, the energy is electric. Collectors from across the country, and sometimes the world, step in. Bidding escalates, tension builds, and suddenly, a coin that most people would overlook becomes the center of a high-stakes battle. The final price. It can reach staggering levels. Life-changing levels. The kind of number that makes headlines. But here's the twist. Not every 1971 penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth only a small premium. So what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary? That's the question that matters. And the answer lies in details most people miss. Let's break it down simply. If you're holding a 1971 Lincoln cent, you need to look for exceptional condition, no scratches, no wear, no dullness. A proof-like or deep cameo finish, where the background is mirror-like and the design stands out sharply, sharp, clean edges and lettering. And any unusual features, doubling, striking, anomalies, or anything that looks off in a way that might actually be rare. Because in coin collecting, different often means valuable. Now imagine this. You discover one of these coins, you get it professionally graded. The results come back, and suddenly, that penny isn't just a coin anymore. It's an asset, a story, a potential turning point in your financial life. But here's where fear comes in. What if you miss it? What if that coin is sitting somewhere in your home right now, mixed in with hundreds of others, unnoticed? What if time, damage, or simple neglect reduces its value before you ever realize what you had? Because the truth is, opportunity doesn't wait. And value can disappear just as easily as it appears, so what should you do? Start small. Check your coins. Look specifically for 1971 pennies with the S mint mark. Use a magnifying glass. Take your time. Compare what you see with verified high-grade examples. And if something stands out, if it feels different, don't ignore that instinct. Because that instinct could be pointing you towards something extraordinary. And here's something most people don't talk about: the emotional side of discovery. Because finding a rare coin isn't just about money, it's about the moment, the realization, the shift from "this is just a penny" to "this could change everything." That moment stays with you. Now, before we close, let me leave you with this thought. Somewhere, right now, there are coins sitting in drawers, jars, and boxes across America, coins that have been overlooked for years, coins that hold hidden value, coins that are waiting for someone to finally pay attention. The question is, will that someone be you? Or will it be someone else who recognizes the opportunity first? Because the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is often just one small detail. Point one, careful look. Point one, decision to take action. So tonight, before you move on, before you forget, take a few minutes. Check your coins, because that single penny you've been ignoring, it might just be the one everyone else has been searching for. And if it is, you already know what to do. I know what you're thinking. A penny? Really? But stay with me, because this isn't just any penny. This is the 1979 D. Lincoln Wheat penny, one of the most extraordinary and rare coins in American history. And if you happen to own one, what I'm about to reveal could change your life forever. You see, most pennies pass through our hands without a second glance. We toss them in jars, we overlook them in drawers, we forget they exist. But some pennies are hiding a fortune right under your nose. And the 1979 D? It's more than just copper and date. It's a story, a secret, and a doorway to unimaginable wealth. So, if you've ever wondered whether your loose change could turn into a millionaire's ticket, you're in the right place. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be looking at your old coins very differently. And trust me, you do not want to miss the cliffhanger I've saved for last. It's the part that could literally make you double-check every penny in your house. Let's start with the story behind this coin. The 1979 D. Lincoln 1 cent, minted in Denver, seems ordinary at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's profile, the familiar wheat ears on the reverse, classic design. But appearances can be deceiving. What makes this penny extraordinary is a combination of rarity, mint error anomalies, and the allure of numismatic history. Here's a fun little twist. Imagine you're sorting your coins and suddenly notice something off. A tiny detail that nobody else seems to catch. That's exactly how collectors discover treasures like the 1979 D. Some of these pennies were struck with unusual die errors, subtle differences that the casual eye would never notice. And these tiny imperfections, they can turn a coin from a few cents into millions of dollars. Now, let's talk numbers. The market value of a 1979 D in pristine, certified condition has recently soared to an astonishing $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right. One coin, one single penny. Imagine buying a ticket to a millionaire's club for less than a cup of coffee back in 1979. If you think that sounds too good to be true, you're not alone. Most people do. But collectors, investors, and enthusiasts know this truth. The value of rare coins is not just in their metal. It's in their history, rarity, and story. Here's a question to reset your brain. How many pennies do you think were minted in Denver in 1979? Millions, right? Correct. But only a fraction have survived in mint condition, and only a tiny fraction have the specific anomalies that make them collectors' dreams. That's where the magic happens. And here's the kicker. If you've ever had a dusty jar of pennies under your bed, chances are you might already be sitting on a small fortune. But let's take a moment to pause and reflect. This isn't just about money. Owning a rare coin like the 1979 D is about connection to history, to craftsmanship, to a story that spans decades. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself. And yes, I know what you're thinking. Ray, this is exciting, but what's the real chance I actually have one? Before I answer that, let's talk about why collectors are obsessed with these pennies. It's not just the potential wealth, it's the thrill of discovery. Imagine finding a coin that everyone else overlooks. That feeling, that heart-racing excitement, is priceless. Some collectors describe it as finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is worth $1 million. And here's a pattern interrupt. If you've ever spent hours searching under couch cushions for loose change, congratulations, you were unknowingly training for your millionaire moment. Who knew your laziness could pay off in such a dramatic way? Now, let's get practical. How do you know if your 1979 D Lincoln penny could be worth $1.3 million? First, condition is everything. The coin needs to be in pristine, uncirculated state. Signs of wear or scratches can drastically reduce value. Second, look for die errors, mint marks, or subtle anomalies that differentiate it from standard issues. And third, certification from a reputable numismatic authority is key. It's what validates its rarity to buyers worldwide. Here's where it gets even more urgent. The market for rare coins is hotter than ever. Million-dollar buyers are constantly searching, and every day, coins like the 1979 D disappear into private collections or auctions. If you own one and haven't checked its value, you could be leaving millions on the table. That's right, millions. Just sitting there, waiting for someone to notice. Let me leave you with a little secret. Many of the world's wealthiest collectors didn't inherit their fortunes. They found them in coins, stamps, and collectibles. And while everyone else dismisses a penny as just a penny, savvy investors see opportunity. They see history, they see scarcity, they see the chance to own something extraordinary. And now, after watching this video, you do 2.0, what should you do next? Don't panic, but don't wait. Take a look at your collection, your jars of pennies, or even that loose change under the sofa. Examine it carefully, compare it to the 1979 D, and if it matches, consider professional certification. Because once a coin is recognized as authentic and rare, it enters a world where values soar, auctions make headlines, and a single penny can change your life forever. And here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. In the next video, we'll reveal the most shocking sale of a 1979 D penny in history, and the price might make your jaw drop. Hint: it's a story of a coin that went from obscurity to selling for a fortune, all because someone recognized its potential before anyone else did. You won't want to miss it. Remember, wealth isn't always in bank accounts or stock portfolios. It can be in the pennies that most people ignore. And if you've ever doubted that your old coins could make you a millionaire, think again. Because sometimes, the tiniest things hold the biggest surprises. So what's the takeaway? The 1979 D Lincoln wheat penny isn't just a coin. It's a key to history, a testament to rarity, and potentially a gateway to incredible wealth. If you've ever felt the thrill of uncovering a secret or dreamed of a life-changing discovery, this penny represents exactly that. Check your drawers, jars, and collections. Examine every coin with curiosity. You might be holding a story that's been waiting decades to be told. And remember, sometimes fortune favors the bold, and in this case, it favors the observant, the patient, and the curious. The 1979 D Lincoln penny, a coin, a story, a potential fortune. Are you ready to see if one belongs to you?